Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. We're just about to start our session for now, so I'm pleased to introduce one of the candidates for Coej. Brother Arifali Hirji has joined us today to share his manifesto and a few thoughts, so I'd like to welcome him to the front here so we can get started. And then after Maghrib, inshallah, there will be niyaz served. Asant.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وبه نستعين إنه خير ناصر ومعين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآل بيت الطيبين الطاهرين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. صدق الله العلي العظيم. صلوات على محمد وآل محمد. My dear Sheikh, my dear teacher, Abbas Malik, a great scholar. My childhood friend and Sheikh Hasnain, and we have many shuyukh online as well, I know. My elders, brothers, and sisters, as well as everyone who is watching online. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I have a lot of feedback already, and that is that Leicester Jamaat are very attentive and have watched many of my speeches and made many comments, so I'm going to do something different today. I'm not going to pose my normal question in the beginning, which you know what it will be, but I'm going to go a bit different, especially because we're in Leicester. You see, Leicester, compared to many other cities in the UK, have got qualities, and in the vicinity, so many masajid, community, where as a 12er Shia Ithnashri, we have a certain responsibility vis-a-vis both our brethren, other Shias, non-Shias, as well as of other faith as well. Why am I starting off here? Because as we have traveled through multiple cities, both on the continent and through the UK, I have actually heard certain comments which are affirming exactly what we have done in the last 3 months. In the last 3 months, we have within Team Fajr, which I actually believe many of you are members of. Some of you don't know that some of you are members, but many of you are. We have conducted statistical research. We have done ground research. We have specifically, which we have based our manifesto on, and I thank a lot the brothers and sisters from Leicester Jamaat who have actually come and given fantastic feedback to the manifesto. And what is that feedback? That is that what we hear is what we researched. For example, what is the need of a strong regional body? A Council of European Jamaats, what is expected of our members in every Jamaat? I'll give you examples. A month ago or so, there were riots in many parts of this country. There was unease up to the point that in our programs we either adjusted them, we took safety measures, and there was one common thing, that is this going to be the new status quo? Or is this going to be the new way which this country is going to be? And that made us think a lot, and we came out with a pledge, and I'm going to jump a bit forward, and I think we basically came out that we're going to have a committee. Can I have some help in moving this? Thank you so much. That we're going to come up with one specific public and policy committee which engages not with the public only, but also creates our own policies where we can own the narrative. Many a times, what happens is that we come up with a certain reactionary point rather than we being owning the narrative. What does that mean? When we have riots on the streets, do we actually have harmonizing policies? Is anyone familiar with what is harmonizing policies? You see, in a lot of countries, you have a way of saying that how are you able to communicate vis-a-vis the government? Harmonizing means that these are the do's and don'ts which you do pre anything happening. And these are the do's and don'ts when there is a certain situation. Not that you come to your point, okay, what shall we do now? For example, if our local councillor here says, how many of us in our community were affected by hate crime? Can we, as a European, as well as UK umbrella body, say that we have those numbers? We should have those numbers quite easily in 2024. We don't have. So if we don't have those numbers, then we don't own the narrative and we can't say how we are affected. Now, if we compare ourselves with other communities, they do have the numbers. So that doesn't mean that we should expect ourselves to be reactionary, rather we should own the narrative. The same thing goes in multiple, if you think about our manifesto, which is not our, but it is your manifesto. We based it on a lot of feedback. I often ask in this country, how many Shia Ithnashris live here in this country? And then we have a silence. Everyone starts thinking. Because my question was not how many Khojas we are. And actually we don't have the perfect number, but we have another number which can lead us very close to it. And that is the fact that we have between 350 and 400,000 Iraqis in this country. Wow. And there are about 150,000 in Greater London. Now, you all know that the majority of those are the Shias. How many faith schools do we have then? Shia faith schools. Actually, on one hand, we have 5 fingers, but we have less than that. We have Al-Huy in northwest part of London, and we have Hujjat Primary, yes? And then we have Jafriya Academy, which actually there are some students across UK who go, but it's a hybrid school which is online. But my question is, if you got hundreds of thousands of Shias, is that actually enough? How many faith schools we have? Now, why is that important? Because many of us will say that no, we actually get good education and it's okay. But really the majority of us feel that we are again reactionary. We don't own the narrative. Owning a narrative means that when you have the massive influx of the isms, of the humanism, the modernism, atheism, and many of the other isms, are we actually able to say that no, our narrative is this. This is who we are. This is the identity, and this is how we are in different situations. If you have even one school with a strong curriculum, what can you do? You then can spread that narrative across Europe, across Jamaats. And in regards to spreading this means that we have a paradigm shift. instead of being receiver of education, we instead be the deliverer and owner of that educational part of who we are. And I think we are approximately 35 to 40 years too late. That's the sad thing about it. I calculated in this way. I want to see if we get nods. Would you all agree with me? It's in the middle of the 80s where we see that how we act in our faith, how we dress, how we observe our faith changed. Yes, and I see nods. At that time, however, we didn't plant the schools, but our other brothers and communities did. So the question then is, okay, let's not look at that and we say, are we going to be another 30 to 40, 50 years too late? We can't afford that. So that's why I mean that we have a change. If I go further, the other very common feedback, especially from Leicester Jamaat members, yeah, is the following. हमने तो बहुत अजब लागे छे कि कोएज में थी ने हमारी रीजनल फेडरेशन थी हमने काई खास हमारी statements क्या छे when something happens. When are the statements of different nature? Ne je ame statements je joye छे, it's maybe not what we would expect. We can't relate to those statements. So there again, that committee of how you relate with the public becomes super important. And not that we react in saying, well, today I had certain kind of egg in the morning in breakfast, so hence my reaction is going to be different. No, you have to be prepared. We have to be like this, okay? If I ask you, how many Muslims are there in Europe? Any guess? Nobody can cheat, yeah? Those who have seen the speeches before and I made this question. But how many? If we don't include Turkey, how many are we, do you think? So we are about 50 million Muslims across this continent, including the UK, and not counting Turkey. But that's 2 years ago. The forecast for end of this decade is we're going to be another 10 million, so we're going to be 60 million. And then in 2040, we're going to be how many? 70 million, depending on the immigration. But you must have heard on the news that the population of the whole of Europe is stagnating. It's one of the continents which does not increase. Oh, Muslims increase. Rest then probably decrease. And the increase comes from many of the 12ers. So is that something to be pessimistic about or extremely positive about? That's an opportunity. And who should take that, embrace that opportunity? A strong regional federation which represents 17 Jamaats and counting across Europe. Because if we have specific parts of how we strategize in different countries, we don't have Control C, Control V today. We don't do copy and paste. What works in a certain part, I give you one example. Today, between 8.5% and 9% of the whole population of Sweden are Muslim. So that means if you go out on the street, every 11th person is a Muslim. Soon, in one decade time, every 10th person. Now, if that's true, there must be learnings from how you are able to engage in the country when you have a right wing on the rise. And you have to be able to know, this only difference is a language barrier, but we do not today communicate between Jamaats. We don't. Or may I say, we do sometimes, sporadically, in certain ways, but we don't do enough. Yes, and I can see the nods, so you agree with that, alhamdulillah. So therefore, there is a phrase which we have coined, which is intercom. Intercom, throughout the manifesto you will see. Intercom means that inter-community communication engagements is a priority. That you have seen when we have had our pledge about palliative care. You got volunteers who deal with that differently in different places. That has been a big resonating factor here, that you love that pledge. Inshallah, we'll be able to deliver that very soon. Secondly, You love that when it comes to engagement and when it comes to statements and how we set policies. But now I'll come to a very important point. One of the feedback from multiple Jamaats is, we don't see Coej present enough. Some Jamaats even say, we've not seen Coej leadership here for years. I assure you, I and our team will be driving or eco-friendly using train up and down the country and on the continent and asking, what are your needs? How are we going to help you? And not only that, as we have built this manifesto, which is your manifesto, we will be delivering proactively. On that note, we are under times of pressure where certain governments and certain bodies and institutions ask questions, difficult questions, and we come into inquiries, investigations. It suffices to say that many Jamaats then feel the word I'm going to use is heavy, yateen. Often that we are alone. Team Fajr pledges. Pledges what? That we are not only being proactive with the public and the specific committee which is creating policies. No, we're also going to pledge that we have a legal council set up. That means that best practices of what has worked for one Jamaat, when you communicate, can be used again. We have got so many talented lawyers and policymakers within our community. They just need to be given the chance to be put together, and then you have continuous learning. All right? And while some continuous learning, we have also pledged that those who are the shining lights of our community, it's not the buildings and the Masjid and the Imam Barga and the Marakis. No, it is the scholars. When you have a scholar, you have mosques which you can build around. Buildings, we have capital projects, very important, but scholars we need to invest in. Today our scholars are many a times alone. Either that they don't able to communicate and express with each other, this is called peer-to-peer review. Secondly, we don't have continuous development programs for our scholars. No, we don't, not enough. We have pledged that we are going to have annual conferences, seminars, and specifically topics which are trainings, and it is wajib for our faith leaders to attend them. Each and every Jamaat should be part of that. And that means we have stronger Jamaats, stronger communities, stronger families, especially because the families, we've also pledged that we're going to have education of families. I'm looking at the clock. I know that we have to prepare for wudu as well. 2 minutes, yeah? Perfect. So now here comes, we have to be truthful. We have been in this country and on this continent for 50 years plus. That plus is very important. More than 50 years. May I ask, do we have a vision for Europe? This continent in the West, which is the oldest of the Western continents, of the 3 Western continents, do we have an agenda which is dynamic, all-encompassing, saving our faith? Do we have a vision for that? And I see, so I'm putting like effects of what I see here. It's no. I can just suffice to say that we can, inshallah, usher in a new dawn with Team Fajr if you give myself, your humble servant leader, the opportunity, and our team, that we will together build a vision which will change and add value for our future generation, especially in the time of awaiting of our Hujjah, Imam al-Muntadhir wal-Muntadhar, Ibn al-Hasan Ajjallahu Ta'ala Faraj al-Sharif. Inshallah, we will have questions, and inshallah, I'll try to answer as many as them possible after Salat. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. سبحان الله والحمد لله ولا إله إلا الله والله أكبر ولله الحمد. الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله أشهد أن عليا ولي الله أشهد أن عليا حجة الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح حي على خير العمل حي على خير العمل. الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآله وسلم.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم اجعل قلبي بارا وعملي صارا وعيشي قارا ورزقي دارا وأولادي أبرارا، واجعلني عند قبر نبيك محمد المصطفى صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم مستقرا وقرارا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. أشهد أن محمد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. أشهد عليا ولي الله صلوات الله وسلم. أشهد أن عليا حجة الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح حي على العمل حي على خير العمل. قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت. الله الله أكبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحيم مالك يوم الدين. صراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إنا أعطيناك الكوثر ربك وانحر إن شانئك هو الأبتر. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله. من حمده الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. اللهم وإليه. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي محمد. الله أكبر. الله وقوته أقوم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الله أكبر. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. الحمد لله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد بحول الله وقوته. سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سمع الله لمن حمده الله أكبر سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد الله أكبر أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده يا لطيف ارحم عبدك الضعيف الذليل اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجه الله أكبر بسم الله وبالله والحمد لله وخير الأسماء لله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدًا عبده ورسوله اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم إني أسألك موجبات رحمتك وعزائم مغفرتك والنجاة من النار ومن كل بلية والفوز بالجنة والرضوان في دار السلام وجوار نبيك محمد عليه وآله السلام اللهم ما بنا من نعمة فمنك لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك الله
أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم أشهد أن محمد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم أشهد أن عليا ولي الله أشهد أن عليا حجة الله صلوات الله وسلامه عليه حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح حي على خير العمل حي على خير العمل قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله استغفر الله أكبر بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إنا أعطيناك الكوثر فصل لربك وانحر إن شانئك هو الأبتر الله أكبر سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سمع الله لمن حمده الله أكبر سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد الله أكبر أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه الله أكبر سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد الله أكبر بحول الله وقوته بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد الله أكبر اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار الله أكبر سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سمع الله لمن حمده الله أكبر سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله الله أكبر أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه الله أكبر سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد الله أكبر الحمد لله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد بحول الله وقوته أقوم الله أكبر سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سمع الله لمن حمده الله أكبر سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. بحول الله وقوته. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. يا خير المسؤولين وخير المعطين، ارزقني وارزق عيالي من فضلك فإنك ذو الفضل العظيم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم. الله أكبر. بسم الله وبالله والحمد لله وخير الأسماء لله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم إنه ليس لي علم بموضع رزقي وإنما أطلب اللهم إنه ليس لي علم بموضع رزقي وإنما أطلبه بخطرات تخطر على قلبي، فأجول في طلبه البلدان، فأنا فيما أنا طالب كالحيران، لا أدري أم في سهل هو أم في جبل، أم في أرض أم في سماء أم في بر أم في بحر، وعلى يدي من ومن قبل من، وقد علمت أن علمه عندك وأسبابه بيدك، وأنت الذي تقسمه بلطفك وتسببه برحمتك. اللهم فصل على محمد وآله، واجعل يا ربي رزقك لي واسعا ومطلبه سهلا ومأخذه قريبا، ولا تعنني بطلب ما لم تقدر لي فيه رزقا، فإنك غني عن عذابي وأنا فقير إلى رحمتك. فصل على محمد وآله، وجد على عبدك بفضلك إنك ذو فضل عظيم.
Muhammad wa ali Muhammad salawat. Brothers, if you can just make your way, please, into the main hall, then we can begin with the Q&A session. Arifali Hirji. What we'll do is the ladies, I believe, have a mic, and they'll have the opportunity to ask their questions. So inshallah, I think the AV team will coordinate that. Okay, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. If I can ask everyone please to recite the Surah Fatiha for Marhum Hamid Abai Fida Husayn Rajani, who passed away yesterday, the mother-in-law of our President Muhammad Bhai Walji, and for all Marhumeens. Surah Fatiha. Okay, so I'm just going to pass it over to the AV team, who will coordinate the questions for ladies. But first I'll introduce Brother Arifali Hirji. Please, with a loud Nare Salawat.
Assalamu alaikum. So you don't mind if I ask the first question? Bismillah. Okay. Assalamu alaikum, Arifai. So I read your manifesto, very impressive, but there was one thing that disappointed me. So I'll take the first shot, if you don't mind, and see how you answer. We can judge you on your response as well, inshallah. Okay, so I saw your team. Alhamdulillah, you've got a massive team. It's like two football teams. So you've got a very big team. But unfortunately, from my perspective and maybe others in the community, I did not see any representation from the smaller Jamaats, especially Leicester. I just want to know how you formed that team and why were we excluded or no one was asked from Leicester. So that's my first question. And if I can just ask my second question, then you can answer both. You mentioned about the hate crimes in your monologue earlier. Just wanted to ask that, how are you and your team looking to collect that data? Are you going to have a system where we log a call? Or I just want to know a little bit more insight on how you're going to collect this data, because you were talking a lot about that. So if you can answer that at the same time, that would be much appreciated. I know it's a fully loaded question, so I'll stop talking now. Thank you. Shall I give him the mic?
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. First of all, this is very good questions, both of them. Well, I've got good news and a bit ajib news. So regarding our team, we don't have 2 football teams, nor do we have 3. We have so many that they would become multiple pages. So we only see 2 pages in the manifesto. However, there are 3 parts of the answer. Part number 1, that we actually indeed have in Team Fajr volunteers from Leicester Jamaat. Yes. However, from Leicester and many other Jamaats, many have said we do not want our names to be published. But in multiple teams, when it comes to organizing camps, MAMT, when it comes to also specifically say, I would like to work in any of them, And there are some who have also said we would like to have the cause for senior citizens. So these three particular areas, we have volunteers from this very Jamaat, in this Jamaat which has got Masjid al-Husayn in it, very heart beating in it. But they were not. There's another reason for it as well, that we could even maybe have a dozen of football teams in it. And the reason is that the time of 12th of September of an election has been very pressing, and multiple Jamaats have actually said that this is not a good time because it actually creates less period for people to be able to join. What happens when a message resonates, people want to join. So we have seen a plethora of people joining. Yes, we have some from small Jamaats as well, overrepresented. For example, we've got a smaller Jamaat called Essex, and there we've got many, for example. But there are some which aren't, and for the reason I said, there's a third reason as well. The third reason is that if you are hold a certain position in a Jamaat, then it's a bit more difficult for people to come out and say that I'm going to be part of the team because I'm part of certain leadership position at the very highest level of the office bearers. So we have also those as well. So this is to be able to create what you call fairness in an election, because there are certain guidance as far as the SOP is concerned, that can you be vocal and take a side or not. So those are the three reasons we have. I can't mention the names because of the same reason. May I go to the second question?
It seems very London heavy as well. So
Yeah.
a lot of London representation, but there's nothing from, I think one person from Peterborough, but you've said that there's many others. Birmingham, I didn't see many. Leeds, I saw one, I think. Gloucester are not represented. That's what I meant. So it was very London heavy.
Yeah, so for the same reason, or very open, we have people from different Jamaats, but because certain Jamaats are bigger, then you have the percentage probability that they would like to put their names forward. You know, there's a bit of cultural connotation as well. Okay, there is a bit of that. And the other one is we don't want to just openly say we're going to, because we take a side. So very good question, and that is the real reason of it. But I will now add on a point that our team is extremely, from left hand to my right hand, very embracing. And we welcome everyone who is here. The team Fajr is yours. You want to come, we will never say no. And there are many positions, because for servants, there's always open hands. Second question which you had, and that is regarding how would we collect data? For example, you specifically around hate crime and so forth. The collection of itself is a system. That can't be very difficult. The question is, how do you have people who come forward? And here is the very root cause of the issue. The issue is that today we don't have communication between Jamaats, between the Jamaats, and between the Jamaat and the umbrella body. Not enough. So I'm not going to go and say that bare minimum you will have a Google sheet, okay? Nor am I going to say that we're going to have the biggest sophisticated app for it, because we have experience in all of that, from the most rudimentary to the most advanced. And my track record as a Secretary General, your humble servant at the World Federation, we've delivered these kind of tools as well. So the how is not so difficult. The more is, let's create that relationship so that we can actually have the willingness. Many times we have initiatives of having databases, business directories and others, but then we cannot see that that actually comes because that willingness, because you have to be able to interact. Now that is a bigger project. So I'm sharing the challenge, but that's not a challenge saying we can't do it. We can do it, inshallah. So that's my longer answer to your short question. Asant.
Any more questions?
Assalamu alaikum. In your manifesto, I saw, and even you mentioned in your speech that you want to improve the Shia schooling system that is currently in the European Jamaats. But so in your manifesto, you mentioned that you will form a team that will make a strategy, and then it will be implemented. But I feel like, do you already have some things in mind? Because to form a strategy and then implement that strategy, because these things take a long time. Do you think you'll be able to, firstly, what will be the time frame that you're looking at in terms of developing a strategy and then implementing it? And do you think that it'll be enough time for you to be able to see it through by the end of your term?
Yeah. Baijan, what is your name, please?
Ghulam Hasnain.
Thank you, Ghulam Hasnain Bhai. Okay, so if you look, can I say what we haven't pledged? We haven't pledged to have an operational school. Coej's role is not to run a school. So that we say the easy part, that we are not doing that. But what we have pledged are the following, that we're going to have a specific educational committee, a strategic body to create a strategy. But create what? To have a sustainable solution, because we have, even in this country, where schools have been endeavored, tried, and then collapsed within weeks. This is the unfortunate. For example, in Manchester, not very far away from here, it was set up, but they didn't go. Because on the one hand, you have the purchase of land and property, and that is capex, heavy. There, Coej has a massive role to play, because a Jamaat or a body which comes together to set up a school, the sad thing is they cannot themselves raise those funds. That's the reality. Does that mean that we who want a school, all of us, should stop? No. Second thing, the more difficult thing than capex is opex. OPEX means that you have to run. What's the biggest cost in a school? It's actually the human resource, the fantastic teachers, which you have to attract to be in the school versus in a different school. Our proposition has to be stronger, not only as from the heart I'd like to work here, but also it has to be sustainable for them as mothers and fathers, sisters and brothers, to be able to earn a living. So sustainability is absolutely key. You asked a question, I'm going into details because it's very important, okay? Then you have to have a management system of a school. Many a time schools don't work because you don't have actually what the direction is and how are you going to run it. The schools are not governmental, they're private, okay? That means that there are fees. What fees to have when not everyone can afford quite heavy fees. It's not very cheap. Then furthermore, when you have fees, should you have tier systems for those who are lower income and, for example, but are Jamaat members? So I'm going to give you that. Those are all the challenges, okay? I've not come to time frame yet. I'll come to that. But I'm going to put in a bit of good news. I was now very somber and very sad, and so I'm going to come up with some good positivity. Today we have more than a dozen schools in Canada, Shia faith schools. We have approximately 4 or 5 schools in Ontario. They are private. They are oversubscribed. I repeat, they are oversubscribed. What does it mean? That they don't only run, everyone wants to come there, and it's a success factor. And there were additional schools built because the schools before were not enough. How are these sustainable? So should we say that no, because of the new VAT rule, for example, that means that we can't run schools? That's an impediment or that's a difficulty, but it doesn't mean that hurdle we can't pass. So do we do best practice on how are you able to sustain? We don't do that. this strategic body would be able to answer that. Do we even compare other schools which are in Europe, Shia faith schools, that means on the continent, not in the UK? No. We haven't done that. How are these? What kind of curricula? I've not even gone into that. Okay, time frame. This strategic body will be set up. Two, it will deliver its findings. Most probably it will deliver findings in phases. Not that we come in and we will deliver it on the last week of the 3-year term. No. Has to be in phases and your updates. That's why you have executive council meetings, as well as we've got media to actually say these are the pledges, and I think that members of community need to know where's that strategy? Where is it? Then you have parallel streams with it. Parallel streams means schools which are already running, for example, Al-Coej and Hujjat Primary, what are the best practices? Number 3, you have Jamaats, which is both Hyderabad and Birmingham, who is currently looking into setting up schools. So this strategic body would be working in tandem with them. So then again, I come to time frame. It's not about just delivering that strategy. It is working together with those schools. It can be deliver. These were only 2. Could there be other further than that? So I'll pause here. I gave a time frame of how with inter-term, between the 3 years, we'll deliver a strategic body. Its aims of challenges is both economically, and then I shared with you some of the hows and what the challenges are, inshallah. Yeah, the body will be set up if Khudawan Muta'al gives us the chance and you elect us. Then thereafter we'll have to count a time. I would guess that we will have a body which will be built, but you need different expertise. We don't have all the expertise ready. We have some who are teachers who are already part of the team. We've got a mathematics teacher who is there and looked at. We've got another brother who has actually endeavored in setting up a school with mixed success. Third, we have some people who are already part of these different schools who are part of the member. So I can't give you an exact timing of when they would deliver, but I would say that imminently, that within months, you would have that body set up, but it may grow in size even, because you need to have people who are good depending on which route we take. Global strategy, local strategy, policy, curricula, and multiple expertise, yes? Inshallah. So I'm very keen that it does not mean that we don't have a biggest population of sustainability in one city, not Leicester, but in an even smaller place. That means that one is excluded from setting up the dream of our whole community in Europe. No. The whole idea is there could be expertise which is not part of them running the school, but definitely have expertise in being able from other things. How many teachers do we have today? Got so many. But they're not working in Islamic faith school, but that should not be the criteria. Ahsant.
Thank you, Arif. But just on the schools, I want to just follow up on something actually. So in Leicester, we do have a large Sunni population, as you know. And there's actually 2 schools I can think of that are private schools, faith-based schools. One of them has topped the league for several years now. Would you consider maybe looking at them for best practices and assistance if we don't have that kind of expertise within our own community now, so that we can learn from them and maybe have a kind of blueprint?
Ahsantum. When we have the hadith, utlubul ilm walau bis-sin, that you can also go to China to gain knowledge. When we have someone in our vicinity and who is doing fantastic job, it is according to our holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. No, this salawat we have to louder. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala. It's not only that we should maybe, no, it's an absolute no-brainer. Wujuban, we have to. This is what the ummah is about. You have to take it in. And not only that, when we run the schools, who said that it would only be from our community, the students? Who said that it would only be those? No, it's not like that. You want to have a sustainable model. So there are specifically that we should not only learn, we should take in the knowledge, but we should also think that how do you create a sustainable path? I'm going to make a statement I heard. I was so interested last week. I have to share this one. I went to South London, and they're looking at a project, inshallah. We pray that we are successful there, inshallah. And there was one specific point which a brother, a very kind brother in our community said, that we have a Caucasian white man who is not Shia Ithnashi, not even Muslim. But he said, if you are setting up a school, I'm going to send my grandchildren there. Okay? Why? Because we have values which actually permeate. Yeah? It's only that we sometimes think our values, they permeate through, and we can do. So I just want to share that part as well. We can't be insular. We should be open to be able to that. Thank you for that.
Any questions from the ladies' side? Just want to make sure that there's... Okay, any other questions?
I've got one if I can.
Okay,
Assalamu alaikum, Arifali. So up until recently, you've been Secretary General for the World Federation, right? And working closely with Safdar on the World Federation strategy, yeah? Just wanted to get some insight into a couple of things. I think firstly, in terms of, can you share with us your reasons for leaving or the circumstances around leaving World Federation? And then I guess some of your motivations for, and the timing for, and the motivation for standing in the presidential election for Coej. And I think through your speeches that we've seen, right, both online and in here today, you sort of expressed maybe you've been critical about the previous Coej leaderships in terms of vision and not having a vision. What have you done around sharing maybe your feedback to them prior to the election process in your capacity as SG and prior?
Multi-dimensional question. So we'll go one by one. First of all, Alhamdulillah, whenever you have an opportunity to serve, that is not an opportunity you create, it's a tawfiq you get. Alhamdulillah, I was lucky through your prayers that I could serve in the last 4 years as the Secretary General of our global umbrella body. Specifically, I did not leave the position because it is a position which is appointed. And it was end of term. And Safdar Bhai, our leader of our global umbrella body, the Pramukh of this, he himself sets out that how he will continue for next term. So that is definitely the case. Secondly, you asked something about why I left or so. No, again, that is our leader, Safdar Bhai. It's his prerogative, okay? But we are only but servants. We are here to serve. Very, very important. I like to then go on to the point about why standing. Anyone who knows me, and you can ask anyone who knows me, freely, openly, that I never get into something by saying, this is not there, and that's the reason. No. My style is this, that when I see that something is not there, can I and we be part of a solution? So from the very beginning of before announcing our campaign and I'm going to stand and ask for your nomination as well as your support in being elected as your servant, there was a long part of homework being done. if you look at our campaign, we have from the very beginning set out specific, tangible pledges. Not setting out, I feel like this. No, it should be like this without any kind of data. We've extremely put effort into that. And that's why I feel extremely happy that when we go around, it is resonating. Regarding the part about criticism, no. Our criticism has not been on the person. That's not what we do. Our criticism is not on the few people. Our criticism is on ourselves, me included. As a community, I've asked the question, why we are here 50 years plus and we do not have a vision. We don't have a vision. Not someone did not create the vision for us. That is not conducive. But we, looking at a mirror collectively that we don't have a vision, that is an obligatory point to ask ourselves. When it comes to the early days of Islam, in the years of Makkah, our Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam had a tablighi agenda, but it was specific for that time and place. But his vision was intact. Then when the situation changes, he adjusts. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives that guidance. The part about the Medina and vis-a-vis Medina and other parts is also a different strategy. When it comes to Kufa, it's a different strategy. And whilst we are at it in education, I must share with you. The sixth holy Imam, Imam Jafar al-Sadiq alayhi salam, how many of us know that 2 years he spent in Kufa? He was born in Medina and also buried in Medina. Jannatul Baqi. But how many of us know that he was in Kufa? 2 years in Kufa. Thereafter we have multiple people, narrators, that then when they come even from other countries and do Dakkal Bab at the door, can I know the narration? Shaykhana, correct me if I'm wrong. Goes to Masjid al-Kufa where there are hundreds of classes going on at the same time. What do they say? Each one of them, they narrate. Haddathani. From who? Min Jafar ibn Muhammad al-Baqir. That I do on the part that he, 2 years only, but the impact is there. My point here is, there again there is vision. And you have vision in different parts. And we as a community can do so much more. You look at the Shia Ithnashri community, which is a Khoja Shia Ithnashri. Yes, I'm going to go identity from a Khoja perspective. We are known as Murattab, orderly. We are known as people who can adjust in different geographies. But I feel sad that here in Europe, we are a bit lost in regards to what our vision is for the next decades. Sorry for my long khutbah. I know it is an additional, but I really feel passionate about that why. Okay? Now, my brother Jibreel, we've known for a while, so can I ask which other question did I not ask? I answered 2 of them. I feel there was a third one as well.
I think you answered it.
Yes.
The only addition I'd add is, additional question is, I guess, in terms of the success of Coej being able to deliver its vision, it needs to be strongly aligned with World Federation too. What's your relationship like with Safdar by the team there? Can you, and have you shared your manifesto with them? Are they aligned with what you're bringing forward?
Absolutely. So, fantastic point. Look, you are speaking to the guy who was the humble leader of all the departments for 4 years. So I'm acutely aware in regards to the challenges globally, but specifically in Europe as well. That's why if you look at our manifesto, we have written that we will deliver a 2050 vision. You've seen this? World Federation has also got a 2050 vision. Oh my God, is this duplication? Not at all. This is called enhancement and continuity and capacity building. because you have a World Federation who has got 6 different regions. By us delivering the needs of Europe, what we actually see as strategic, that will directly feed into the World Federation. Yeah? And this is where myself and inshallah Safdabai embrace each other with showing this thing, that how amazing the WF 2050 global vision is going to be. So that's why specifically, one of the reasons why it's going. In regards to relationship, I would say that it is Nur ala Nur. The relationship with every person in WF. It is ye to muhabbat do taraf hai. We are not one-way interconnector, we are two-way interconnectors continuously. And anyone who says that you cannot have a good relationship or of love, then we are not Ahlul Bayti. We are not Husayni. We are like this. There's no question about it. So you are talking about a person who has had a prominent role in strategy for one of the FTSE 100 companies, and I was able to apply that kind of strategic thought in the World Federation, and with receipt, I hope, that when we do well, we share with you why, and we thank you for your support. If we do better than expectation, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, thank you for that reward. And when we fall short, we say, Allah, you know best, why did we fall short? Always transparent about our KPIs and accountability. Asantu.
Adil Bhai has got a question.
Assalamu alaikum, Arifali. I just during Arba'in or something, I saw a video of you in Mokib that you are looking, but I didn't follow the full video, I forgot the rest of part of it. But the only thing which stuck to my mind was that you are looking to have some sort of plans or something to have youth serving in Arba'in. So I just wanted to know, I forgot the last part of your video or something, but just wanted to know in person, what's your plan?
Crystal clear question. On that, I have a slide, but we'll not put it up. We'll do it Mode, inshallah. When I went to Karbala, this is the backdrop of it. Will you agree with me all that Karbala is the greatest conference on earth? Arba'in is the greatest timing of that conference on earth. Thus barabar 10 times minimum of Hajj. There is no other human conference which is greater. I'm not saying Shia nor Muslim, human conference. Mujhko bada ajeeb laga कि when I was there, I did not see the presence of Coej there. He said, why should it be? I would say, why should it not be the greatest conference on earth? Of course we should have presence there. This from one angle. But what did I see? I saw so many members of our European Jamaats who serve, not in the tens, but in the hundreds. But then there are not in the hundreds, but in the thousands who do not know how can I go and serve. Is that not a link which we can create between those who are serving in the Mawakib and those who yearn to serve? So I pledge 2 things. Number 1, we will have a system of recognition, not for Karbala only, not for Ziyarat only, but for multiple fields of arts, engineering, sciences, poetry, multiple areas where we have talents which has to be recognized, including those who volunteer in these kind of areas. The second pledge, which more answers you, is where you have branding. That we have a system in place where we have a Coej brand supporting. When you have Mokibs, multiple of them, Coej can partner with them. We don't run the Mokibs, but we have others who run, but we can support them. And by doing that, you create what you would call, between the demand and the supply, a perfect pipeline where people know, okay, it is that one at 1000 and Xth, 130 at something, where I can go and serve as a sister, where I can use my dental profession, where I can as a nurse share, where I, as a male who knows very well on how to look at posture and massage, I can serve. As a podiatrist, I can serve, and so forth. Can you imagine how vibrant we as Coej, members of every Jamaat, including Leicester, will be connected to the everlasting mu'jiza in this and the next world called Imam Husayn alayhi salam? So that is what I pledged, 2 parts. Hope I answered, inshallah.
And if there is anything you need on that side, it will be an honor to serve.
Ahsantum. And we have one more Team Fajr member. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad.
Okay, I'm conscious of time, and obviously the food is now being served. So I'll take a last question if there is. Okay, has anyone else got a question?
If Arifali is okay to continue, let's continue. I think this is useful. So,
last question, please, Jibril.
Yeah, let's eat. So you mentioned something earlier on. I just wanted to get some clarity before I ask the question. You said there was a statement from Leicester and some concerns. I didn't register what that was. Are you able to provide some clarity on that?
I will, but this is online, is it not? Yeah, it's being streamed online.
I don't know.
Yes. I will share to the extent I can. I'll share slowly now, a few words. There is a dhulm, when there is a parallel of taswa being that there is a place of people who are specifically under very difficult situation, then are we present and are we getting what we get from what our institutions, what we expect of them? That is one of the kind of a bucket of expression. Another kind of expression is another event happens of national level, that someone passes away. How is it that we relate in regards to using a Quranic verse? How are we going to relate verses using a certain dua? How are we expressing ourselves? Is it resonating with our brothers and sisters? These are the things of what I would call disappointments of different levels, and part of it from this Jamaat. I hope I expressed to the very extent I could, and I also gave an answer of why, of how, what we would do to that. Inshallah.
Okay. Thank you for that clarification. So I guess my question then around that is, so the majority of our community, not only in this Jamaat and across the Khoja world, are of the Muqalladeen of Sayyid Sistani. May Allah give him a long life. And I guess the clarity for us is that our Jamaats are places of worship, religious places, right? They're not political places, yeah? And I think Sayyid Sistani is very clear in keeping a differentiation between the two. Whereas I guess maybe there's others who are not. I guess, when I looked through your manifesto, I saw you had a strong theme around Marja'iyyah, but I didn't see a reference to Sayyid Sistani. So I'd like to understand, where does that feature? Why is that not in there? And then secondly, as our Jamaats in the UK and across Europe are charity institutes, right? We're governed by charity law. And how do you propose then, in what you've just said, do we ensure that we are not, I guess, we don't fall foul of those guidelines were in and protected from, I guess, this political sort of environment that may come with what you just suggested?
I think your 3 points here are very wise and good questions. So first of all, I want to make it absolutely clear. If you look at the manifesto as it was shared, there was specifically a mention, and I'm going to read it out, actually, if you allow me. There's a specific mention, and you can go to the circulation of it, that when we released it, we said the following. We have deliberately not included the photo of our Marja, His Eminence Sayyid al-Sistani, Damahu Dhillu, in order to be consistent with the established guidelines of his office. How do I know that? Because actually I have experience of interacting with this blessed office who has saved our Shia Ithnashri on multiple occasions. So hence, to write the name and photos, there are certain guidelines. He is our marja that may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give him so much more longer life than what we can even pray for, inshallah. Secondly, I want to demystify one thing, please. I actually think it's a responsibility of us as Muqallideen that our marja, Ayatollah Sayyid al-Sistani, this absolute shining star in Najaf al-Ashraf coming from the place of Khurasan, Mashhad, and hence, you know, I'm connecting to the times of Akhir, that let us say, please not say that he is not politically savvy, nor does he have a political acumen. It maybe doesn't have what we define as politics. But I would say a removal of the third biggest or second biggest city, depending on how you count, which is completely occupied, he has done the masterpiece of politics to be able to defend when we couldn't. Yes, am I passionate? I'm extremely passionate now, yeah? Because I'm also passionate because I don't think that we understand our marja. Yeah? An absolute representative of our Imam at a time when we really need that, how he solved it. And I do not think, there is a thinking here that our Aimma alayhimus salam are passive and not. No, they have different political, I said political and social ingredients depending on what times you live in. Yeah? We have scholars here, Sheikhna, correct me if I'm wrong here, but there are different parts of this. So that's that part. But I want to go to the next one, which you very, yes, we are governed. We are living in a certain system. We cannot say anything or everything, but at the same time, it's not a choice of saying nothing. No, there are certain rules. So for example, I love table tennis. Barkat Bhai, you love table tennis. If I play with a certain rubber, I can't do certain spins. That's how it is, yes? But that doesn't mean I don't play the game. It's just that I play it differently. And I'm within my boundaries of what I can do. And one of the things is, which is absolutely not right, there's something called freedom of expression, which charities can do. Parts of the charity act. But we just play within that. So that's how we should be smarter. When something is more difficult, then the Husayni adapts. Okay? This is what it is. So I hope I answered in 3 different. I just wanted to give a dimension that is actually not true. Statements in regards to these most difficult periods from a humanity point of view as well as oppression point of view, Ayatollah Sayyid al-Sistani, this great marja of ours, have come out with the most amazing statements. And that's why we have a way that when the World Federation or Coej or others, we always publish his statements in these difficult times. So that's a way of answering. But to be silent, not say anything, that I don't think is an option. Okay, Hassan. Sorry for my long answer, but I thought it was very important.
Okay. Okay, welcome. Last question, please. His food is getting cold, his tea is getting cold.
Okay, we've got 2 questions.
Arif bhai, assalamu alaikum. I'm not in your team, as you know, but we go back a long way. And apart from one blip in 1 year, you beat me every other time. So that's a fact. You've made some very strong points today. I guess the lazy vote would be that, look, we have Salim Bhai. He's a member of this community. He's probably in the MC, I don't know if he is or not. If we need anything, we can just call him, just collar him, makes things easier, right? The point I'm making is that many years ago, we had an issue where Coej and World Federation were found to be very short. We had a school here, which is an Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah school. And their criteria for entrance was that you had to be a Muslim. But after that, they changed the criteria that you had to be a Hanafi, Maliki, Shafi, Hanbal, purposely excluding the Jafri fiqh. And Jibral's here. Because we're not educational lawyers, but we burned the midnight oil, we made things up. I asked for help from Coej. I asked help from WF. They both apologized in the end after the result. But not being educational lawyers, we conjured up a case to hold that school accountable, reported them to the government, that they were defying the laws, the code of practice of education, and we won the case. And it's plastered everywhere on the internet, you can see it, right? But the point I'm making was that we received no help from Coej and WF, and after the event, to their graciousness, they did apologize. And it's not as though they didn't want to help. They just didn't know how to help. They had no clue, they didn't have an educational lawyer there to help us. And I think that gap, if any of you guys can fill, it's really required, because most of the time, you don't need that service. But there comes a time when our community has been discriminated, when we need help, desperate help, we don't have the expertise. And this is where I think Coej needs to step in. It's just a point that I'd like to make. Thank you.
Yeah. I just want to say, first of all, that Barkat Bhai is one of the very few people who actually, fair and square and amazingly well, beat me in table tennis. And actually, it reminds me that, and that's why we enjoy our company as well, because, if you are true believers, you actually enjoy when you lose as well, because it's amongst friends. And anyone who has not played with him, you have to play with him. He's a fantastic lefty like myself as well. Yeah, very, very good. Fine. But on this point, you have basically answered the question which I go around in every Jamaat. I don't think it's okay that as an umbrella body, which is supposed to deliver capacity building, and is supposed to deliver what a Jamaat can't do itself, the only thing you can't answer is no. You can't say, we can't. You can say, we don't have the expertise, but we're going to join with you and find it. Can we buy the expertise? Can we source the expertise? And surely one thing every person can do. If somebody is calling for help, is it not the Karbala part that you actually have to go and help? You don't know how you're going to help, but you will have to help. So put the effort in, and then you say, yes, this person didn't know, didn't have the resource, but he gave his or her time, and then together we came up with a solution. We can't say, sorry, this is not our subject matter expertise, you try yourself. That you will never hear from me. If you hear from me, then I don't want to stand here. I don't want to. So that's my answer. Will we have answers for everything? No. In the words of the greatest mufassir of the Shia world, Sayyid Allama Tabatabai, when he goes into classes, teaches the scholars in his classes, many a times he knows the answer, but he feels humble, and sometimes when he doesn't know, what does he do without any problem? He says, Shagirdan aghayun man namidunam. I don't know. There's no shame in saying I don't know. First you say I don't know, then you find the solution, inshallah. Thank you. That's my answer.
Last one.
So I've been told by the MC that I need to wrap it up.
I'll be quick, I promise. It'll be really quick.
Okay, quick please.
So I think, first of all, Arif Bhai, again, thank you for coming here today. You know, as a Coej community in Europe, we're kind of spoiled, right? Two very credible candidates. We've got both with great experience. We can see the effort that both of you have put into your manifestos, the campaign. We know the time frame's been very tight for you both, but the quality of everything you've put out, including the videos and other information, has really been excellent. So, and I know you've both traveled, you know, to different Jamaats, and I know it's a long way you've come again, so thank you for that. I guess with all of that, there has been also some messages that have been received by, you know, me and I think others in this community, which I guess, you know, competition's good. Competition is healthy, but there's also a fine line, right? And there's definitely been some messages that come out that I would say maybe are non-Islamic, both in terms of video content, anonymous messages, and then even, you know, calling out individuals, particularly, you know, sisters, daughters of our community, which is very disappointing and hurtful. The sad thing is a lot of those messages have been against your opponent. Yeah, all the ones I've seen, others have seen. What's your thoughts about that? And what would be the message you would send to individuals that are writing, producing such content? Yeah? I mean, Arif Bhai, you know, do you condemn those actions? And
okay, I'll answer it, and I'll be very consistent as well. There's a statement which has come out on Fajr as I arrived here. We published a statement. Please have a look at that. I urge everyone to look at that. It's a call for integrity. But I'll elaborate. When we came out with our campaign, from one of the first videos from Javedain and Kadhimain in Kadhimiyyah, we say, we take the inspiration from our fifth holy Imam, Imam Muhammad al-Baqir alayhi salam, who says that before you speak, learn to say the truth. Don't speak if you have not learned to say the truth. It's a deep one, but clear-cut. It's not about speaking, it's about speaking the truth. Truth in Islam means that it has got a weightiness. You don't spend and say things which are not part of what our Ahlul Bayt have taught us. Okay? Number two, there's two parts to it. Firstly, we all say, nobody cares about our communities, nobody cares about the elections and all. I have never seen such an engagement from the youngest to the eldest, to the brothers and sisters across in this campaign. Somebody made a joke, said that, Arifali, you should stand all the time because then suddenly everyone comes alive. Yeah, people who never were present, they come alive. That's, of course, a jovial way of sentiment. But it's very, very important that we choose our words very carefully. It is not part of us to hurt other people. It's not part of us to go in. And you said, my brother, that you have seen someone on our opponent. I never call Salim Bhai my opponent. Salim Bhai is my brother. He has been a president of this Council of European Jamaats, and I have worked with him as well. He's not an opponent. They are never opponent. Brethren, Muslim brothers are not opponents. They help each other to find new avenues, and when you find that you can improve, you go in and put, and there is an akhlaq to that. Everything which has come out from myself and Team Fajr, I categorically say, and you can read in the statement, is from our official means of communication. Now, if in our community we have ajib wa gharib, strange way of people saying this or that, I receive criticism day and night, but you have to be thick-skinned. But one thing is, there is an intrinsic problem in our community. Intrinsic. It's linked to a lack of akhlaq in many parts. That is there as well, and this is where we have to help each other, mirrors of each other, not to have these things. But that does not take away from the positive part, that we call out mistakes with manners. We call out that there is a gap here so you actually can dialogue. That we can't take away. So it's a balance. But there is a clear balance of what is wrong and what is right. So now I urge everyone, if you haven't seen our statement, this is what we stand in. You know, to speak is one thing. To write it out is another, and I urge you to read that as well, inshallah. Asantum.
Asant, thank you very much. I'm just going to wrap it up now and just say thank you to everyone for attending, certainly, and for the questions, taking time out. And Brother Arifali, for him to come all this way to Leicester Jamaat, I think is in person, and be here is also commendable. So I would like to thank you on behalf of all the community. Jazakallah khairan for coming here.
5 seconds or 10 seconds, but very brief, that actually that you all have come with such a short notice. I am not grateful, I'm extremely humbled. Extremely humbled. Thank you very much to you, your families, that you came. And to the management, from this morning, and it was turned around, I'm very touched. And the second one is that, no, it is not I came and you should be grateful. It is wajib on me to try. Try. I feel only sad that I couldn't come earlier, because this is the time schedule. But inshallah, together, if a system is not fully operational and fantastic, we will change it together, inshallah. All right? Asantum. Thank you so much, Brother Ali. Really appreciate it.
Asant. Just one last thing, if you can just recite one last Surah Fatiha for the marhumeens. Al-Fatiha.